Beloved, by the grace of God, we are gathered into an hour that asks no performance of you, no spectacle, no debate, only a willingness to turn. 7 days, a brief span, yet wholly enough to begin a lifelong transition from dependence on that which can be seen and counted to reliance upon that which cannot be measured and yet holds the stars in their courses. He hangeth the earth on nothing. We will not attempt to persuade the world. We will witness within. We will not teach this to our neighbors. We will practice it in silence. And we will discover that silence is not emptiness. It is presence. Let us set the keynote of these days, say it within. Let it ring through the chambers of thought until resistance falls away. Live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. Not later, not when the crisis rises, not after the figures have been consulted and the headlines have been read, but now. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not passivity. It is a listening that places the invisible at the center where it has always been. This is not a 7-day bargain for results on demand. This is a consecration to reliance. The effects will come as grace, not as wages. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. We are not here to prove our cleverness, but to witness the sufficiency already given. When grace is realized, forms rearrange of themselves. When grace is ignored, forms mock us with their insufficiency. Therefore, we do not begin by asking for 1,000 little corrections out there. We begin by abiding until the one power is felt as the ground of being. In him we live and move and have our being. Over these 7 days, you will find we proceed gently, firmly, together. We will practice micro-turnings, a pause before a reply, a breath before a plan, a 5-minute stillness before the day is allowed to speak its demands into you. Keep a quiet journal, not of complaints, but of recognition. Write what you discern of presence, what you notice about fear's voice losing its authority, where the impulse to hurry dissolves. Do not show the pages. This is sanctuary, not display. There is only one power. Let that be our refrain. Number 2 does not exist in this kingdom. Evil does not have a second throne. Fear is loud, but sound is not sovereignty. Over these days, we will withdraw from fear the only strength it has, our consent. You will learn to smile at it, not to mock, but to acknowledge its impersonality and turn from its bluff to the one whose government is peace, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. If it will help you to receive this invitation, let me tell you a small story. No fireworks, no headlines. A woman I shall call Miriam, hurried and honest, consented to a 7-day inward turn. On day 1, she set her phone aside before the meeting. On day 3, she paused before paying a bill, whispering within, one power. On day 5, she wrote in her journal, I notice I am not afraid of the phone call. I cannot postpone. On day 7, nothing on the ledger had changed except the handwriting of her heart. And then, quietly, the outer began to answer to the inner. A kindness from an unexpected quarter, a clarity about a task, a release from a conversation that had knotted her, not rewards, but reflections. This is the invitation. Bring whatever name you have carried, sick room name, boardroom name, parent name, anxious name, and lay it beside you. Over 7 days, we will let the name above name speak within until identity loosens and breathes. Perfect love casteth out fear. Not your love, nor mine, love itself recognized. So we begin live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. May the gentle Christ, the inner Word, bless this consecration and keep you in the hollow of its sufficiency. We proceed, not arguing, but abiding, not demanding, but receiving, not trembling before the visible, but resting in the invisible one power that has always been our life. Beloved, let us face squarely what the senses report so loudly. Fear grips the world. In the sick room, fear. In the markets, fear. At the borders, fear. In the family councils and the quiet marriages, fear. In the debates of politics and in the quiet of the pillow at 2 a.m, fear, fear, fear. We do not pretend it is absent. We do not varnish headlines with pious phrases. We acknowledge that the airwaves and the bloodstream of society seem saturated with it. But having named the climate, we must not grant it dominion. Naming is not kneeling. Diagnosis is not devotion. Hear this carefully. Fear is not a power. It is a universal mesmerism that takes its force from the consent of the mind that bows to it. It is not your fear, it is fear. It is not my fear, it is fear. It is the world belief parading as inevitability, and it borrows its only strength from our agreement. Withdraw consent, and you have witnessed its secret. It must return the borrowed robe. If there were 2 powers, if evil had a second throne, then fear might claim a charter. But there is only one power. Let that sentence sit in you until it clears the fog. God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Where then does fear obtain its license? Only where we sign it. From this moment, refuse to sign. When fear presents its paper of disease, of lack, of conflict, decline the pen. You do not fight it with bluster or with denial. You meet it with presence, with that soft inward turn that says, thou hast no power. Spiritual armor, not material armor. The sword of the Spirit, not the surgeon's knife as savior, though surgeons and their skill have their place. They are not our God. Bigger walls, louder slogans, angrier policies. Are they the answer? The answer is no. The remedy is not louder sound in the outer. It is deeper silence within. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Let me give you an embodied cue, because the body often reveals where we have secretly knelt to fear. When fear arises, not if, but when you notice its familiar knock, breathe once, slowly. Soften the jaw, feel the tongue rest, let the shoulders drop their borrowed armor, and inwardly smile. Not a grin to deceive yourself, but a recognition, I have found the pickpocket. I am taking back what I had lent. In that smile, you repossess authority. In that breath, you reassign allegiance from the visible report to the invisible one. This simple act, practiced often, becomes a signal to the whole being. We live by grace, not by terror. If I hadn't watched this through years of ministry and the common days between, if I had not seen faces unknit, accounts steadied, and fevers release their hold when fear's charter was revoked, I could not speak so quietly. But I have, in sick rooms and offices, in kitchens and council chambers. And always the way is the same, not arguing with persons, not taking sides, not instructing the world in its errors, but silently, within, withdrawing power from fear first in yourself, and then by the overflow of consciousness for those who come within your circle. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Note it carefully. Shadow, not substance. Valley, not residence. Walking through, not pitching tents. Do not misunderstand me. We are not cultivating human courage. We are uncovering divine sufficiency. We are not trying to feel brave. We are relinquishing the belief that fear is anything but a mask. As you practice this, keep a quiet inner refrain. There is no power in fear. There is no law to maintain it. There is no cause to perpetuate it. Only belief, and belief is not power. What follows? Freedom, not as a performance, but as a presence. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Having seen what is not power, we are ready to behold what is. One power, the infinite invisible, working as grace. As we proceed, we will not inflate the problem, we will reveal the presence, and you will find that when the one is realized, the many shadows flee of themselves. Beloved, now let us look not at the shadow, but at the light from which all shadows flee. There is only one power. Say it softly until the words cease to be words and become awareness. There is only one power. All causation is within. The visible is effect, never cause. The parade of appearances, health or disease, surplus or shortage, promotion or delay, is not first cause. It is the echo, not the voice, the ripple, not the spring. He hangeth the earth on nothing. Do you see the paradox given for our instruction? The world you trust as solid is suspended by the invisible. We live by that which cannot be grasped by hand or weighed on a scale, yet which upholds all things by the word of his power. Grace is the name we give to that one power in operation. Grace is sufficiency unearned. Grace is the divine activity fulfilling itself without our strain, without our bargaining, without our anxious contriving. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Not your cleverness, not your heroics. Grace, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. When the heart consents to this order, the treadmill slows, the wheel of worry releases its claim. We no longer live by wage in the spiritual sense. We live by gift. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. Above what? Above the level of our plans and panics. It arrives from the within, which is the true above. Let me draw the lines boldly so there is no confusion. Sword of the Spirit, not the surgeon's knife as Savior. Inner assurance, not outer insurance as God. Divine government, not human manipulation. Presence realized, not panic organized. Spiritual law, not superstition about dates, markets, or microbes. We are not discarding the tools of the day. We are refusing to enthrone them. Use what wisdom suggests, but give allegiance to one. For there is only one power. If the branch could make fruit by tightening its fibers, then let it strain. But the Master spoke plainly, abide in me, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself. The fruit is effect. The vine spirit is cause. Grace flows. Fruit appears. If I hadn't witnessed this over years and across many thresholds, I wouldn't sit before you in this quiet certainty. I would hedge. I would offer you a little comfort medicine with escape clauses. But I have watched the invisible arrange the visible when reliance shifted inward. decisions aligning without argument, provisions appearing without the old terror, bodies responding when presence displaced, fear suggestion. Not because we worked up a mood, but because we yielded to the one already present. And I am willing to put it on an if basis for those who need it. If these things be so, you will discover it in your own way as you abide. We do not sell theories here. We return to an order. Understand? Then, the logic of the kingdom. Cause is realized within. Effect registers without. When you reverse the order, you serve two masters and receive the wages of weariness. When you honor the order, you find that quiet sufficiency that does not argue with appearances, yet does not bow before them. Live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. Not later, not when emergencies multiply, but now, because the one power is not a future arrival. It is the present life of all that is truly alive. So let the sentence ring again like a bell that clarifies the air. There is only one power. Rest in it. Let it rest in you, and watch how grace, which needs no applause and asks no price, moves as the hidden current under your day, steady as the hand that hangeth the earth on nothing, fruitful as the vine that needs only your abiding to prove its life through your branches. Beloved, the way is simple. I did not say easy, simple, because it returns us to what already is. Not easy, because habit loves to be consulted. Our method is not debate. It is not persuading others. It is not improving fear by staring at it. Our method is abiding daily, quietly, faithfully, until reliance moves from theory to breath. Be still and know that I am God. We will be still and we will know, not by talk, but by practice. Begin in the morning before the world calls your name. Sit for 7 minutes. Let it be 10 if grace enlarges it without bargaining for a feeling. Breathe, soften, listen, whisper within. There is only one power. Let the words become awareness. Read a few lines, not much, from the Master's teaching. Abide in me and I in you. Or the psalmist's assurance, he restoreth my soul. Then consent, thy will be done. Not as resignation, but as alignment. This morning centering is not a ceremony to earn favor. It is a homecoming into the fact of grace already present. From there, rise and let your first steps be quiet steps. Across the day, practice 3 sacred pauses. They are brief, 30 seconds, 90 at most, but they reestablish government. Set them at ordinary thresholds so you will not forget. Before opening your inbox, before you break bread, before the afternoon turns to hurry. Each time, stop, breathe, once slowly, soften the jaw, let the shoulders release their borrowed armor, and inwardly smile. Say, I do nothing of myself. The Father within me doeth the works. Then add the refrain that will carry you through these days. React only to the Spirit before decision, before reply, before purchase. Do not make this a superstition about minutes and clocks. Make it a recognition about cause and effect. The pause is not delay. It is precedence given to the invisible. Choose also one quiet act each day that asks no credit, an email of blessing without counsel, a small generosity, a patient listening where you would have hurried. Do not announce it. Do not improve anyone. Simply let grace overflow in form as it chooses. We are not trying to paint halos on our moments. We are letting presence find its own channels. In the evening, we return. 2 lights close the day, a brief review and a few minutes of silence. Take your journal of recognition, not of complaint, not of tallying failures, but of seeing. Note where you remembered and where you forgot. Where did fear present its paper, and did you sign? Where did you smile and withdraw the pen? Write also 1 line of gratitude for how grace appeared, perhaps only as quiet, perhaps as a word withheld, perhaps as a decision delayed until light came. Then close the book and sit for 5 minutes. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Let that confidence be in one. If I hadn't watched these small hinges swing large doors, I would not ask this of you. But I have watched it, souls steadied, homes gentled, tasks ordered not by louder effort, but by daily return. This is not heroics. This is sincerity. We are not trying to be saints by Thursday. We are consenting to be branches on Monday, Tuesday, and the rest. Keep your practice small and faithful, and you will find it become spacious and living of its own accord. Carry the refrain constantly. React only to the Spirit before you press send, before you reach for the card. Before you speak the word that wants to be first, do not think you lose time. You recover it. Do not fear missing out. You will discover being led, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. In this way, reliance ceases to be a sentence and becomes a felt governance. Tomorrow we touch day 1, and we begin not with conquering, but with interrupting. We will insert a sacred pause between appearance and response, so that spirit, not the senses, sets the sequence. That is our doorway. We will not force the door. We will knock, and it shall be opened, not from without, but from within. Beloved, today we begin by interrupting the visible reflex. We will not try to fix the whole landscape. We will place a finger on the switch that governs it. The reflex is the unexamined bow to what is in front of the eyes, the screen that dictates our attention, the schedule that claims to own our hours, the balance sheet that pretends to set our worth and our safety. Name them without shame. Screen, schedule, balance sheet. 3 arenas in which the senses shout, hurry, decide, defend. But there is only one power. We do not argue with screens and clocks and columns of figures. We interrupt their enthronement. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, not by the inbox, not by the bell, not by the bottom line. Your practice on day 1 is exquisitely small and completely decisive. 1 60-second holy pause before each key action in those arenas. Before you open the screen for the first time today, email, message, news, pause. Before you accept, decline, or rearrange an appointment, pause. Before you pay, charge, commit, or postpone in the realm of money, pause. Do not hurry the pause. The pause is not delay, but precedence. Cause must precede effect. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Return first, then act. Rest first, then move. Confidence first, then decision. Let the pause have a simple inner form so the mind cannot confuse it. Sit or stand exactly as you are. Breathe slowly. On the in-breath, say within, there is only one power. On the out-breath, I rest in grace. Again, there is only one power. Again, I rest in grace. Loosen the jaw. Let the shoulders release their borrowed armor. Smile, not as performance, but as renunciation of fear's claim. You are yielding the stage to the invisible. Be still and know that I am God. Take the full minute, if you must. Count 6 slow breaths, each with the mantra, so that the tyrant of seconds cannot rush you back onto its treadmill. Then act without drama, without preaching to yourself, without waiting for thunderclaps. Send the email or do not. Open it or wait an hour in peace. Accept the meeting or move it by a day. Pay the bill or make the call that wisdom suggests. What is different? The sequence. You have let spirit set it. The screen is now a servant, not a sovereign. The calendar is now a tool, not a master. The balance sheet is now a report, not a religion. You have answered to one. The Father within me doeth the works. Let me be concrete. The screen, before you tap through a flood of messages, take the minute. You may find the first response is no response, or a softened word, or a delay that avoids a quarrel. A soft answer turneth away wrath. The schedule, before you crowd another task into a weary hour. Pause. You may discover that removing one appointment multiplies clarity for 3 others, that my yoke is easy and my burden is light is not a metaphor but a method. The balance sheet. Before you pay in panic or withhold in fear, pause. You may be led to pay one thing gladly, to make one humble phone call in peace, to wait a day without dread. Supply is an effect. Grace is the cause. Take no thought for your life. Your heavenly Father knoweth. If I hadn't watched this small hinge swing large doors, I would be cautious here. But I have seen more quarrels avoided by a minute of grace than by a month of explanations. More order restored to time by one surrendered calendar choice than by 5 systems. More peace in money matters by a quiet payment and trust than by anxious calculations that produce only more sums to fear. This is not magic. It is order. Spiritual law before material report. Presence before appearance. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Close the day with your journal of recognition. Ask 2 gentle questions only. Where did I pause? What shifted in tone, in choice, in outcome? Do not judge the results with the old metrics. Note a softened email, a meeting moved without guilt, a bill paid without a knot in the stomach, a decision deferred until light came. Note also where you hurried and what fruit that haste bore, not to scold, but to see. Seeing is freeing. Tomorrow will give you another minute at a time. Remember, we are training the soul to honor cause before effect, the invisible before the visible, one power before many appearances. Let this be your refrain all day. On the in-breath, there is only one power. On the out-breath, I rest in grace. In that rhythm, the seas of the day hear a familiar voice. Peace, be still, and they do. Beloved, yesterday we trained the hand to the switch. Pause before the visible commands your steps. Today we meet the whisper that tries to rush you past the pause fear. Not your fear, fear. Not my fear, fear. A universal suggestion. A climate of belief circulating like weather through the human family. It knocks with headlines and private memories, with bodily sensations and balance sheets. We will not deny its knock, and we will not dramatize its voice. We will unmask it, and in unmasking, deprive it of the only strength that ever seemed to own our consent. When fear appears, label it gently and exactly. Universal suggestion, impersonal, powerless, unless I empower it. Do not argue, do not produce a counter-brief of reasons why all is well. Arguments feed what we are withdrawing. Instead, let your body be a bell that rings a new government. Soften the jaw, relax the hands, open them in your lap as if releasing a contract you never needed to sign. Lower the shoulders that have been holding up a sky that is not yours to hold. Smile slightly, not a grin to impress yourself, but a sacrament, an inner witness. Thou hast no power. Say it within, once, twice, simply. Thou hast no power. Attention to presence, not to prediction. Assurance, not analysis. The senses will ask for forecasts. What if? And then what? And what after that? Decline gently. Presence, not prediction. God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Stand there, not bravely in the human way, but quietly in the divine order. The sound mind is not a calculator of disasters. It is an awareness of one. Fear not, for I am with thee. With thee, not possibly with. With as breath is with the living. Then act normally, wisely, without any drama, to prove that you are spiritual. Make the call if wisdom nudges. Postpone if light has not yet come. Lock the door if that is ordinary prudence, but refuse to lock your mind into vigilance as a religion. Seek counsel if needed, but do not enthrone counsel as a second God. We are not inventing a new set of superstitions. We are removing an idol. We do not deny appearances. We deny them authority. We do not perform heroics. We practice reliance. If I hadn't watched this through years of ordinary days, fear meeting a smile and folding like paper, I would be cautious in my counsel. But I have seen a parent facing a diagnosis breathe once, whisper, "Thou hast no power," and from that assurance choose a steady course without panic. I have watched a merchant look at a fluctuating ledger, relax the hands, smile slightly, and be led to one wise step that quieted a month of dread. Not magic, order. I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and delivered me from all my fears, delivered first from the fears, then from the forms they had been shaping. Make today's practice specific. When the knot in the gut arrives, do not medicate it with analysis. Name it. Universal suggestion, impersonal, powerless, unless I empower it. Breathe, smile. Say within, thou hast no power. Let 30 seconds of presence recalibrate a day of prediction, then move as grace instructs, not as alarms demand. If words must be spoken, let them be simple, clean, unhurried. If silence is wiser, let it be full, not frozen. What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. Trust is not passivity, it is precedence. Close the evening with your journal of recognition. 3 lines will suffice. Which fear appeared? Name it plainly. Health, money, reputation, time. How did my consent diminish? Describe the moment, the smile, the open hands, the inward word, and note the shift of temperature within. What fruit followed the smile? Perhaps only breath and a softer reply. Perhaps a guidance that spared hours. Perhaps courage without bluster. Do not grade outcomes by the old metrics. Register the lessening of bondage. Tomorrow will give you other shadows to unmask. But today you have taken back the pen with which you had been signing fear's papers. By naming fear impersonal and smiling at it, you repossess the power you had lent it. That is not psychology. That is allegiance. There is only one power. Let presence be your attention. Let assurance be your atmosphere. And as you do, you will notice that the predicted tomorrows fall silent before the realized now. And the gentle Christ within speaks the old word to the inner sea. Peace be still, and it obeys. Beloved, today we put first things first. Guidance before movement. We are not adding another layer of effort. We are changing the order. Initiative from within, not impulse from without. Movement as overflow, not as remedy. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Not after you have walked and wearied yourself. Acknowledge first, be directed next. Set 3 5-minute silences for this day, morning, midday, evening. Guard them as you would a necessary appointment, for they are, in these minutes, you ask for nothing. You do not bargain. You do not make lists for heaven to sign. You turn to I. Be still and know that I am God. Sit, breathe, soften. Let the jaw unclench. Let the hands open as witnesses that you are not grasping for outcomes. Whisper within, there is only one power. Then ask without strain, how would Spirit have me respond? Ask once, then listen, not with the ears that crave drama, but with the heart that recognizes tone. Do not wring answers from the silence. Do not pace inside like a petitioner at a locked door. The door stands within, and it opens to abiding, not to pressure. In the morning silence, do this before the day scatters your attention. The question is not, what should I achieve? The question is, how would Spirit have me respond to what presents itself? Perhaps a phrase arises gentle, wait, begin here. Perhaps there is no phrase. Only a settled atmosphere, a knowing without words. That, too, is guidance. My sheep hear my voice. The voice is not always syllables. Sometimes it is direction felt as peace that curves your first steps to where they belong. In the midday silence, return before you cross the afternoon's threshold. Let the morning accumulate no authority of its own. Breathe, turn to I. Ask once, how would Spirit have me respond? You may be led to send one message you had been postponing, to withhold one explanation that would have complicated a matter, to shift one appointment that frees new light for all. Initiative from within, not impulse from without. In the evening silence, we do not autopsy the day. We turn to the one who lived it through us, to the measure we consented. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Lamp first, steps after. Ask once, how would Spirit have me respond to tomorrow's known appointments? Then rest your mind. Refuse to draft the future by anxiety. Let the night be a temple, not a workshop. Test this on small matters first. The tone of an email. In stillness, you may feel the first sentence soften or the whole message wait a day. The travel route, an inner nudge toward the slower road, may spare you the faster road's tangle or give you a quiet hour that becomes more fruitful than speed. The grocery line, a simple turning within, may lead you to the shorter line, or to the one where a tired cashier meets your unhurried smile and finds strength. We are not chasing omens. We are consenting to order. Let outcomes teach you, not convince you by argument. Watch the fruit of movements that begin in guidance. Feel the friction of those that leap from impulse. The difference will tutor you without debate. Do not fashion this into a superstition of minutes and clocks. 5 minutes is a shape for your sincerity, not a law for your righteousness. If I hadn't watched lives reorder around these small altars, I would speak more cautiously. But I have decisions aligning without quarrel, tasks arranging themselves like iron filings to a magnet, rests entering where there had only been hurry. Not because we mastered techniques, but because we honored precedents. The within before the without. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Close your day with 2 lines in your journal of recognition. What guidance felt clear? Name the tone or the nudge. What action flowed without friction? Describe the ease, no wrestling, no proving, just the step that matched the inner light. If you moved ahead of inner clearance, note it gently and its fruit, not to scold, but to learn the difference between splash and current. Tomorrow, you will ask again, once, simply, how would Spirit have me respond? And you will wait without strain, knowing this. Guidance precedes movement. When the within is right, the without follows. Beloved, today we touch the field that seems to fret the most work and money, and we confront the superstition that life depends upon our straining. Hear this confession, not as theory, but as order discovered. We no longer work for a living. The living comes by grace. Work becomes expression, not extraction. Action arises from trust, not terror. This is not idleness. This is inner order. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not wrestled into place. When grace governs, the scramble quiets. Stewardship replaces theater. Sufficiency displaces the pageant of scarcity. Let us draw the contrast plainly so the mind cannot blur it. Stewardship, not scramble. Sufficiency, not scarcity theater. Guidance, not grind. Quiet planning, not anxious plotting. We do not abandon prudence, we purify it. We keep our books, but we remove fear from the ledger. We plan our week, but we let presence order the priorities. We send the proposals, but we refuse to make results our God. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Want as panic dissolves when shepherding is realized as presence, not as wish. Your practice today is threefold and small enough to be honest. First, give a small, quiet gift, not as a bribe to heaven, not as a performance to feel spiritual, but as a witness that flow is our nature, a tip that is a little more than expected, a note of thanks with no request attached, a bag of groceries left at a door without signature. Do not announce it. Let grace be its own advertisement. Freely ye have received, freely give. The giving is not the cause. The realized grace is cause, and giving is its natural breath. Second, delay one fair purchase. You know the kind the thing bought to stave off a story of lack, or to appease the ache of I must secure myself. Do not forbid the purchase forever. Simply postpone it 24 hours in peace. In that day, sit once and ask, how would Spirit have me respond to this desire? If it is needed, light will bless it. If it is fear in costume, the appetite will fade without regret. Take no thought, for your heavenly Father knoweth. Knowledge precedes provision. Fear need not forge it. Third, Complete one task entirely from peace, not pressure. Choose something simple but real, a report, a client call, a piece of craft, a sink of dishes. Begin with the minute of returning. There is only one power. I rest in grace. Then do the task at a pace that honors breath. Refuse to rehearse outcomes while your hands are engaged. Let the doing be its own integrity. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it in silence within, without the whip of comparison. You will feel the difference, ease in the muscles, clarity in the sequence, a surprising sufficiency of time. Act responsibly. Grace does not preclude wise planning. It purifies it of fear. Keep your budget, but write it after prayer. Make your calls, but place them without the tremor that begs. Accept overtime if wisdom so indicates, but not as a new altar to anxiety. Use insurance if that is your season, but refuse to enthrone it as providence. My God shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus. All your need, not all your greed, not all your fears rehearsals, and according to his riches, not according to last quarter's numbers. We honor channels, but we trust source. If I hadn't watched this Reorder Lives, I would be careful with my words. But I have seen books balance where terror had made them bleed. Clients call the morning after a night of surrender. Debts resolved sanely when dignity, not desperation, picked up the phone. I have watched a craftsman, once haunted by invoices, choose to begin each day with 5 minutes of stillness and a small unnoticed generosity. Within weeks, panic had left his shop like smoke from an open window. And orders came not as thunder, but as a steady rain, not magic order. Cause within, effect without. Let scripture become atmosphere across your tasks. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Thou preparest a table before me, not someday, not in a fantasy, but in the midst of ordinary days. Lie down inwardly even as you stand at the workbench. Let the table be set in your awareness before you count the chairs in the room. You are not earning a living. Life is expressing through you. Your part is consent, stewardship, and simple obedience to inner light. At evening, take your journal of recognition. Ask quietly, where did I release strain today, and what did grace arrange? Note the small provisions, a timely reply, a discount offered without your hint, a task that took half the time because you did not wrestle it. Where did clarity come when you delayed a fear purchase? Where did giving open a window in your own heart? Write 3 lines only, but write them with reverence, for you are tracing the tracks of the invisible on the surface of your day. Carry this refrain as you lay your head down. We no longer work for a living. The living comes by grace. Let action arise from trust, not terror. In the morning you will rise, not to scramble, but to steward, not to beg supply, but to witness it as the effect of grace already present, the one power that openeth thine hand, and satisfieth the desire of every living thing. Beloved, the same order that gentles our supply governs our health. Presence first, then any form wisdom may indicate. We do not make a god of matter, and we do not make an enemy of it. We take up the sword of the Spirit, not the sword of fear, and we let grace be sufficient now. At the first hint of a symptom, before analysis, before stories, put your hand quietly over your heart. Breathe once, twice, softly. Whisper within, God's grace is my sufficiency now. Again, slower. God's grace is my sufficiency now. Then add the axiom that has become the cadence of these days. There is only one power. We are not here to conduct an argument with flesh. We are here to establish government. I am the Lord that healeth thee. The Lord of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus hath made me free from the Lord of sin and death. Sword of the Spirit, not fear of matter. Presence first. Remedies as wisdom leads. If a cup of tea, a rest in the afternoon, a consultation or a remedy is the form grace selects, let it be chosen from peace, not panic. We do not scold forms. We dethrone fear, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Withdraw dread at its first knock. Fear will come dressed as statistics, as headlines, as private memories, as the tremor of a muscle. Label it gently. Universal suggestion, impersonal, no power unless I consent. Smile slightly, the sacrament of non-fear. Breathe. Hand over heart. God's grace is my sufficiency now. Say within, thou hast no power. We are not denying sensation. We are denying its usurped authority. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. And by dwelling, we do not mean brick and wood. We mean consciousness held in one. Keep ordinary prudence, if that is your season. Wash, rest, pace your tasks, but refuse to ordain contagion narratives as law in your awareness. We are governed by one. Meet those who suffer with tenderness, not technique. No preaching, no correcting. Abide as presence beside them. As the Master touched the leper and virtue went out of him, sit quietly and let the atmosphere of I be the medicine beyond words. Breathe, soften, hold them in the realization. There is only one life, indivisible, whole. If a word must be spoken, let it be simple and human. If silence is given, let your silence be full. Comfort ye, my people, not by arguments, but by presence recognized. Make it plain in practice. A cough in the night, a tightness across the brow, a message with a diagnosis. Do not race to the end of a story. Hand over heart, quiet breath. God's grace is my sufficiency now. Wait 30 seconds in stillness. Ask once, how would Spirit have me respond? Then move as instructed. Water, rest, counsel, cancellation of an appointment, or simply continued quiet. The body is not your God and not your foe. It is an instrument that plays more truly under a calm hand. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. Restoration begins in soul. The body follows as effect. If I hadn't watched this posture, steady rooms where alarms had risen, I would be cautious in my assurance. But I have seen fevered nights turn gentle by a small inward bow. I have watched a frightened parent breathe, whisper grace, and be led to the one right step without frenzy. I have been present when a face, pinched by dread, softened the instant dread, lost its credential. Not magic order, cause within, effect without. Close the day with your journal of recognition. 2 questions only, asked without strain. What softened when I placed presence first? Name the breath, the calm, the lessening of rehearsal. What next right step emerged from that calm? Record the guidance and its fruit sleep that came. Counsel taken in peace, a task deferred without guilt, a remedy that worked without theater. Let Scripture be your benediction as you lay down. Bless the Lord, O my soul, who healeth all thy diseases. Meet disturbance with presence before all else. Refuse to let fear define the body or the path. There is only one power. God's grace is your sufficiency now. Beloved, today we step into the field where sparks fly easily, the meeting point of wills, histories, and expectations, and we make a quiet, decisive move. We stop taking sides and start abiding as presence. Harmony does not come by winning an argument. Harmony comes as the awareness of one dissolves the theater of many. At the first hint of friction, at the raised eyebrow, the clipped reply, the email that bristles, pause, breathe, soften the jaw, open the hands in your lap as if you were releasing the case you were preparing to plead. Say within, without strain, there is only one power active here, love. Not sentiment, not human preference, love as law, love as the one, God is love. Let that be government. We do not line up for or against, not for capital nor labor, not this party nor that. We are not taking sides. This is not a work of attributing virtues to a class or vices to a faction. We refuse the binary that fear proposes because fear needs two to survive. We bear witness to one. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And the house we are speaking of is consciousness. Unite the house within presence ahead of position, and you will see the outer house cease its shouting, or you will be given the word that stands without heat. We don't deny that tempers exist, that injuries are remembered, that negotiations can be hard. We deny that any of these possess power once love is recognized as the only activity worthy of our consent. The practice is simple and strong. Offer a silent blessing before every reply. Let your eyes rest for a breath. Let your heart say without syllables, may the Christ in me recognize the Christ in you. Then answer few words, soft tone, clear meaning. A soft answer turneth away wrath. If you are writing, let your fingers pause before sending. Read your line once in the atmosphere of love and remove any sentence that is really a defense masquerading as information. If you are in person, let the blessing go ahead of your lips as a gentle scout. Let your voice be the temperature of peace, presence before phrase, love before logic, then speak. Non-reactivity is not passivity, it is precedence. Sometimes love says yes, sometimes love sets a boundary that is clean and does not wound. Let your yea be yea and your nay, nay. If a boundary is needed, speak it without the barbs you do not need. I won't be available for that. We'll revisit this next week. I hear your concern. Here is my decision. No theater, no sarcasm, no cleverness that scores points and injures souls. Blessing first, then clarity. Watch how the field alters when you refuse the sport of escalation. Do one unnoticed kindness today that costs you convenience, not a performance, not a post, a kindness. Take the slower line so another can hurry. Yield the parking space without the lecture you wanted to deliver. Wash the cups in the office sink and leave no note. Send a quiet gift with no reply requested. Make the call of apology for your part and ask for nothing in return. Why? Because grace moves first. Freely ye have received, freely give. You are rehearsing a universe in which love is the causative agent and the visible rearranges itself to match. On the larger field, keep your prayer clean. Bless the company and the union. Bless the boardroom and the break room. Bless the legislature and the street. Don't teach this outwardly. Hold it silently. Withdraw your consent from the mesmerism that announces winners and losers every hour. Pray for kings, and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life. Quiet and peaceable begins in the one who will not be drafted into a feud. One with God proves to be a majority, not a political majority, a spiritual majority that leavens the whole lump. If I hadn't witnessed rooms soften when one person chose love as law, I'd be cautious in my assurance. But I have seen a meeting shift because one soul blessed before speaking. I have watched an old quarrel lose its appetite when a right boundary was set without sting. I have seen the email thread end with one sentence that carried no defense, only truth. Not magic order. Cause within, effect without. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Close the day with your journal of recognition. 2 questions only. Asked without heat. Where did non-reactivity alter the field? Name the moment, the breath before the reply, the blessing before the word, and note the change in tone, in pace, in everyone's shoulders. What reconciliation or right boundary appeared? Describe the fruit. A softened answer, a postponed debate, an apology offered or received, a clear no that brought quiet rather than noise. Then rest. Carry this refrain into the night. There is only one power active here, love. Harmony begins when we stop choosing sides and start abiding as presence. In that abiding, the hills of contention melt like wax at the presence of the Lord, and what seemed immovable becomes the very ground of peace. Beloved, today we widen the circle. The same presence that calmed your breath in the night is not a private medicine. It is government. The peace that softened a household is not a domestic trick. It is law. Hold your city. Hold the nation. Hold a crisis that has been trumpeted to you in large letters. Not with opinions, not with strategies, not with sighs. Hold in silence, beholding one power, one presence, one life. Be still and know that I am God. In that knowing, the scale of the outer does not intimidate the substance of the inner. The hills melt like wax at the presence of the Lord, not at the presence of our plans, but at presence realized. Is material power the solution? Bigger and more bombs, sharper sanctions, louder broadcasts? The answer is no. We are far beyond the possibility of settling the world's upheavals by any human mode or means. Consciousness heals. The government is upon his shoulder, not the shoulder of a party, not the arm of a general, the shoulder of the invisible. That is more actual than any parade of force. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end. We consent to that government. We do not draft a human to impersonate it. Your practice today is a 10-minute silent vigil. Choose a set hour you can keep with dignity. Set a simple bell. Sit. Open your hands as witnesses that you are not grasping for outcomes. Let your jaw soften. Let your breath find its quiet. Within, say once, there is only one power. The government is upon his shoulder. Then behold, no opinions, no forecasting, no sides. Behold your city as held in one. Behold a nation, perhaps not your own, if that is where the ache has been loud. Behold a named crisis, not to rehearse its headlines, but to recognize presence at its core. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. Do not visualize winners and losers. Do not direct the traffic of events. Behold, I am where noise claims to be. 10 minutes, stillness as intercession, awareness as radiance. Intercession is not lobbying the infinite for a change in policy. Intercession is the light that says, I recognize. Only Radiance is not a mood, it is causation. Ye are the light of the world. Let your light so shine silently that the room of your city brightens, though you publish nothing. If a word or a deed is required of you after the vigil, it will rise cleanly, unaccompanied by heat. Perhaps you are led to a donation made without trumpet, a letter written without sting, a conversation held without accusation. Perhaps you are told, wait. Waiting, too, is a work when it is filled with presence. If I hadn't witnessed the outer field respond to a handful who kept such vigils, I would be measured in my speech. But I have meetings that were slated for rupture, finding an hour of unexpected courtesy, an opening for relief that had been postponed by weeks arriving the morning after a quiet circle kept watch, a tone shift in news that did not yet name results, but lost its appetite for alarm. Not magic order. Cause within, effect without. One with God proves to be a majority, not a voting block, a spiritual leaven that alters the loaf. Keep our community thread clean of spectacle. Share one witness shift, tone, opportunity, relief without ornament. A sentence will do. At noon, the vigil held. By late afternoon, the call that had been stuck moved with ease. Or, the neighborhood meeting began with complaint and ended with a shared plan, quiet as rain, no trophies, no boasting. We are not collecting wonders. We are tracking fidelity. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love thee. Pray, and then simply note peace when it peeks its head around the door. Close the day with your journal of recognition. 2 questions, ask like a bow. What did I behold beyond appearances? Write the name, city, nation, crisis, and the word you held. 1. What did trust feel like in the body while I beheld? Describe the sacrament, the softened jaw, the weight leaving the shoulders, the breath that was not a petition but a river. Let those lines be your quiet altar. And as you rest, carry this assurance. Reliance ripens when realization blesses beyond our private circle into the world. The invisible governs, the one power reigns, and in that reign we become the candles that do not argue with the dark, they simply burn, and the room must answer. Beloved, the 7 days are not an accomplishment. They are a doorway. We have turned, paused, smiled, listened, acted. We have watched fear lose its borrowed uniform and grace assume its rightful governance. Now we do not graduate. We abide. Abide in me, and I in you. This is the way beyond the week, not a sprint, a life. Continue living through the invisible one. Power realized daily becomes enduring reliance. How shall you know that the transition is taking root? The signs are not banners. They are fine as dew. You will discover that your pauses come quicker, before the reply, before the reach, before the rush. Your nerves grow quieter, less rehearsal, less bracing, more breath. Your speech becomes kinder, fewer explanations that really defend, more words that actually serve. Your plans simplify, fewer contingencies built by fear, more clear next steps arranged by peace. Your joy steadies. Not fireworks, not drought, but a river that remembers its source. These are markers, not medals. They whisper, grace is governing. Establish a rule of life that honors the invisible without superstition. Daily silence, morning and evening, 5 minutes, if that is honest. 15, if you are given grace. No bargaining, just beholding. In the morning, set your lamp. There is only one power. Spirit, lead. In the evening, return the day to the one who lived it through you. Thank you. I consent again. Weekly, deeper study, set apart an hour, even 2, for the scriptures and for the passages that have become bread to you. Do not read to collect promises. Read to be read by the word. Be still and know that I am God. And the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Soak until they cease being sentences and become atmosphere. Monthly testimony, one simple witness, offered without ornament, of grace at work. A tone that changed, a provision that arrived, a healing in attitude that altered a room. Speak it to a trusted circle, or write it where you pray. No trophies, fidelity. Keep returning to the invisible. Carry a brief refrain, not as magic syllables, but as a tuning fork for awareness. Fear, thou hast no power. Grace, thou art my sufficiency. Spirit, lead thou me. Whisper it in the threshold moments, in a corridor, between meetings, at the sink, at the bedside. Let it gather your scattered thoughts into one. Perfect love casteth out fear. You will not bully fear. You will withdraw your consent, and it will fade. An actor whose audience has gone home. Smile at conditions, health, money, nations. And act from the calm center, not a smirk, a sacrament. The smile says, I know the source. Hand over heart, breath soft, attention inward, one power. Then do what is next. Call, rest, give, decline. Begin without theater. We do not deny symptoms or statements or statistics. We deny their claim to be law. He hangeth the earth on nothing. The invisible is the law. The visible is the report. Guard yourself against 2 ditches, indifference and intensity. Indifference says, it does not matter. Intensity says, I must make it happen. The way of abiding says, I consent to what already is, and I follow. Pray without ceasing does not mean words without ceasing. It means consent without ceasing. In the store, on the train, at the desk, before the gavel falls, consent. When you forget, return. When you hurry ahead of the light, stop. Step back into stillness and begin again. From then on, it isn't difficult. It is faithful. If I hadn't witnessed these small obediences ripen into steady lives, I would be cautious in this assurance. But I have watched households cool their weather, shops become saner, bodies serve more quietly, neighborhoods gain a little radius of kindness, and yes, nations ease by shades. Not magic order, cause within, effect without. One with God proves to be a majority. Receive this benediction as you go from the weak to the way. The presence of the gentle Christ is sufficient to calm the storms of life. Let that presence be your government, your supply, your health, your wisdom. Let it be your pause, your word, your plan, your joy. Live through the Spirit now. Turn to the Spirit for everything. React only to the Spirit. There is only one power, and as you abide in that, one day after day, the world you touch will quietly learn your secret. The invisible reigns, and grace is enough.